From October to February, I've been marathoning the Assassin's Creed franchise, and I'd like to discuss a few important things I've noticed that you might not notice unless you've done this crazy, deranged thing I've done. Now, the scholars of the comments section may be shocked by my incorrectness, but it's all food for thought, regardless of whether my dear viewers agree. So we're going to proceed in random order that is not chronologically, because I don't want anyone to be able to anticipate anything based on this chart. I opened a number generator from 1 to 14, since I'm discussing 14 games, and I let it choose the order. So I'm hoping this could be fun. In any case, I have a whole backlog of footage that's taking up a lot of space in my drive, and I just got to get rid of it either way. So that's why I'm here to discuss 14 Assassin's Creed games. So the first number the generator provided was 6. So that's 1, 2, Brotherhood, Revelations 3, and 4. 4 would be number 6, chronologically speaking. I like Assassin's Creed 4. Assassin's Creed 4 is pepperoni pizza. There's not a gamer alive who can't enjoy it. It's like GTA, like more than others, I'd say. The boat mechanics aren't that interesting, but there's something really addicting about being a pirate. Like, didn't you want to be a pirate when you were 6 years old? AC4 was my favorite AC for a solid 2 years of my life. It did something right. I'm not going to put it that high on the list, mainly because of what's come out since, but I'll explain further as I make my way down the list. But anyway, Assassin's Creed 4, we're going to put that at B tier. When it came out, I think it really was a big deal, but based on what's come out since, it's B, which is pretty good. Everything on this list is pretty good. D is the lowest and greatest of all time is the highest. But B is still pretty good overall. So that's Assassin's Creed 4. Next is number 9, which would be Assassin's Creed Syndicate. I really like Syndicate insofar as it's a much more polished version of Unity. The stealth is great. The Arkham-style combat works and is certainly unique in comparison to the rest of the AC franchise. My main gripe with it is, in spite of how well it works now and how bug-free it's become, it's a little too easy. Okay, so first of all, a lot of Assassin's Creed games are too easy, but Syndicate in particular, there's this specific problem where though the stealth is good, excellent even, it really doesn't take that long to level out of the game being difficult. It's difficult at lower levels when you enter high level areas, but given that there are only 10 character levels, it really doesn't take long to trivialize the entire game. That said, I stuck to stealth for most of it and really enjoyed the narrative and gameplay, except for this flaw that I felt was trivial. I'm going to give Syndicate an A. I think the carriage combat is well integrated into the rest of the experience. I think Unity and Syndicate both mark a greater focus on providing a comprehensive and challenging stealth experience. That happens to be what I'm about, so A tier. Next is number 11, Odyssey. Odyssey was also my favorite for 4 years. I think that even though Origins and Odyssey had to abandon social stealth and hiding on benches and stuff like that, they both did a good job of exploring the open world gig without neglecting stealth. With regard to Odyssey in particular, I think the combat was much better, but combat isn't really the focus. At least it's not more important to me than stealth. Odyssey had a lot more in the way of stealth abilities. Odyssey felt like an uncanny stealth RPG. It also had a ton of stuff in it. Maybe Valhalla is the biggest AC game in terms of quantity, but Odyssey can't be far behind. The boating and dynamic wartime mechanics were also well woven into the game. I also liked how you could spam the wartime mechanics for gear and experience points. I never really expected an AC game in ancient Greece, and I wasn't exactly excited for one either, but I like how Odyssey turned out. It's probably my favorite Layla Hassan game. I'm going to give it an A. I think Odyssey is a favorite for a lot of people. Very hard mode forces you to prize stealth, and that's the main thing that matters, no matter how powerful the protagonist is. Number 8, Unity. Rogue came out a few days earlier, so that's actually number 7. Unity is among my favorites in the franchise. Even though Syndicate polished it, there's something irreplaceable about Unity. Arno is a charming and witty protagonist who makes for a more interesting narrative, to which Syndicate doesn't hold a candle. Syndicate's story is fun at times, but it's unpleasantly reminiscent of a middle school play, while Unity is as fun and engaging as a Bond film or Cirque du Tom Cruise. Unity's story is also full of mystery and betrayal and left turns, kind of like the Daytona 500. Yes, Unity had a rocky release, and when I played 6 months ago, this happened. But when hiccups like that don't happen, Unity was the first Assassin's Creed game that challenged me, and that really means everything. As Unity is the first challenging Assassin's Creed game, not to mention the reigning champion for the most challenging AC game. I'm not 100% sure about that. I mean, maybe not. Certainly if you factor in doing the cooperative missions by yourself, that's actually pretty hard. I think it's S tier. It's easily one of my favorites. Now, that might upset you, but note, we have not reached the greatest of all time yet, that we're getting there. We have a couple more in these other categories, but there is only one GOAT. 12. Valhalla. From a mechanical perspective, Valhalla's among the latest ones, so it's pretty advanced in terms of what you can do in the game, but the whole bombastic Viking thing didn't resonate well with the super stealthy assassin thing. Like, yes, Vikings are sort of like freedom fighters, or maybe just fighters who happen to value independence, but the pillaging and so on was kind of bad from the victim's perspective. I love to clear bases, and I love being sneaky, but that was a pretty insignificant slice of the Valhalla pie, which contained trips to magical lands in which to do a lot of picking things up and melee combat, and also stacking rocks and gathering fish. Like, a bunch of things that don't strike me as Assassin's Creed. The one thing that did stand out to me about Valhalla was gear management, which, as minor as it is, I appreciated it, and it was the main thing that stuck out about Valhalla. Basically, instead of upgrading gear every single time you level up, you upgrade your gear through a couple tiers of quality, and then that gear otherwise scales with your level directly, which makes a lot more sense. In Shadows, they just made it really easy to upgrade gear to your level. Valhalla happened to simplify it further. Narrative was all over the place. Eivor's personality didn't do it for me. Valhalla had a lot of stuff to do, but it just didn't feel like Assassin's Creed. Very fun, very diverse, just more of an ARPG than a stealth game. I love ARPGs, I love stealth games. I just want them in different places. It's kind of like a tuna melt. Cheese is good, tuna is good, but are you really going to put them together? And anyway, B tier. Technologically capable, and a good game for the time, but just totally left field for Assassin's Creed, more than Ancient Greece. 5. Assassin's Creed 3. AC3 introduced a new engine, and that was kind of a big deal, I guess, because you could hide in tall grass for the first time. For a long time, AC3 was one of the easier ones in my mind. Connor is huge, he runs like the Dickens, he has a variety of weapons that aren't meaningfully different from each other in terms of the wanton destruction they can all cause. Rope darts were cool, but I personally didn't get a whole lot of use out of them. They just look cool. And I think the same thing kind of goes for the tomahawk. You know, if a guy is coming at you with a club, a sword, or even a butterfly knife, nothing is quite like a tomahawk. Like, a tomahawk is a professional. If someone is charging at you with a tomahawk, they know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly how to use that thing, and you should be scared. So, yeah, you don't mess with someone who's wielding a tomahawk, and Connor's wielding a tomahawk, so there's that. There are plenty of more effective ways to kill people in the franchise overall. So what's fun about it? The progression is cool. Investing in and upgrading the estate, as well as engaging and improving your recruits. Also, I played the remaster. I don't know if it's any different from the original. I don't really, sometimes I forget the difference between a remaster and a remake. I think a remake is more, it's like a different game. I remember playing AC3 on the 360, and the 360 basically wheezed through the whole thing, could barely handle it. I think it was mainly meant to showcase what the PlayStation 3 could do, if memory serves. Back when there were people, the PlayStation 3 was a new thing, remember that? AC3 certainly contributed to the narrative by completing Desmond's story, which is at least in the upper echelon of video game narratives, but the combat and stealth were kind of meh. A side note about the story, a lot of people don't like the ending because they found it inconclusive and, killed him off, and et cetera. But anyway, for the gameplay, the gameplay is kind of meh, as it often is in Assassin's Creed. The narrative and aesthetic are the selling points, mainly. I will say that full synchronization objectives make for a very different, infinitely more difficult experience, and I did have to amend my views of older games based on my new experiences with full synchronization objectives that I did not observe when I played them a dozen years ago. If you've never played AC3 and you've stuck to the new ones, I highly recommend playing for full synchronization objective. Same thing goes for AC4, which I've already discussed. Another good, not great. AC3 earns another B. Number 13, Mirage. Basim has an effective stealth-oriented arsenal. Maps have plenty of secret entrances, environmental hazards, of which to take advantage, enemies to take out without raising suspicion. It has pretty much everything I want from an Assassin's Creed game. There's no outside protagonist because Basim traveled through time and is the protagonist of the entire series, unless there's something I missed in Shadows. Speaking of time travel, many don't admire the narrative in Mirage, and I totally understand that. Ubisoft just phoned in Fight Club, and the rest is pretty forgettable. But I love the gameplay. Some have complained about the parkour, but for me, challenges that involve stealth don't necessarily need parkour. I think the parkour is fine, but even if it weren't, there are plenty of opportunities to be stealthy, distracting enemies and taking them out quietly one by one. Just a really good stealth experience with great quality of life. Some of the best I've seen in Assassin's Creed, at least. None of this is to mention the ancient city of Baghdad. They really nailed that one, didn't they? Might be the best Assassin's Creed setting we've had so far, if you ask me. I'm gonna put Mirage all the way up in the S tier. I don't understand the hate, but also, I played all of these games on the hardest difficulty, and I could see someone thinking some of these games are kinda blah on easier difficulties. Again, not the greatest of all time, we're getting there. Combat and stealth are good, gear management and customization are good. I love Mirage. Perfectly good AC title. Halfway there. Number one. With regard to the first Assassin's Creed game, the gameplay was never what captivated me. In those days, I was 12 years old and I didn't know what kind of games I liked yet. Or I did, but by that point my favorite games had been Shadow the Hedgehog and Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. My tastes have changed since then, as anyone's would. Bottom line is, if you're a 12-year-old, you can't look at this trailer and opening sequence for the first game and think, this isn't insanely cool. Like, this trailer was the coolest thing I'd seen in my life. AC1 basically sucks at the grand scheme of things and hasn't aged well, but it did something right. It must have, or I wouldn't have played it for the next 15 years. Assassin's Creed will always be insanely cool, and that's the real point. Outside gameplay, outside graphics, Assassin's Creed 1 was all about being cool and looking cool while being cool. Altair is one of the most badass protagonists in gaming. We never find out enough about him, and he remains an enigma to this day. He's like the Abraham Lincoln of Assassin's Creed. Who was this guy? There are a lot of theories, but we'll never know for sure. So not great in terms of gameplay, not great in terms of a lot of things, but the mysterious war between Templars and Assassins and the engaging narrative that ensues for the next 15 years, you can't put a price tag on it. C tier. Not great, but it paved the path for the others, including the greatest of all time. 14. That'd be the most recent one, Shadows. I had a blast with Shadows. 100%ing it after about 120 hours of play, lots of base clearing, now a super stealthy bird mechanic replaced with the observation mechanic, a solid quality of life improvements across the board, including an option to play as a brute the whole time, which I wasn't really excited about, but I think Naue is ultimately among the stealthiest protagonists in the series, and that's more important to me. I also like Naue's story because there's a pleasant coming-of-age aspect of it that reminds me of earlier games. There's a little bit of a slog in the middle, or they're basically like, hi, how are you? Go do this for me, please. You know, this stuff like that. There's a lot of that throughout the story, and that's kind of boring, but the beginning and ending are where it counts, and that's where it's strong. I'm just looking at my notes. So no social stealth, as with the Layla Hassan trilogy, but I feel that stealth and combat encounters took center stage in this game. They weren't part of a larger ensemble of mediocre and Kafka-esque tasks like Valhalla. I just reviewed this game, so I want to get to the others, but S tier. If that angers you, you can check out my review of Shadows and comment there too. But anyway, already talked about it. Same thing with Mirage. I have a Mirage video from when that one came out too. 3 would be Brotherhood. Introducing the multiplayer mechanic, Brotherhood was a lot of fun. I liked investing in the city to get all that revenue and to run around in Brutus's armor. Functionally, it was definitely an improvement to Assassin's Creed 2. Combat was pretty dynamic. If I'm not mistaken, Brotherhood is the first one with the break defense ability. Could be wrong about that, but I remember a Ubisoft rep boasting it during a promotional interview. It does a good job of illustrating the organization that Ezio and Claudia dream up in the heart of Italy. It also does a good job of setting the stage for Revelations, with Claudia becoming an assassin, thus staying in charge of the Brotherhood while Ezio is away. In terms of both gameplay and narrative, we have a sense of how Ezio establishes and expands the Italian Brotherhood. Though we couldn't visit multiple cities, Rome was so dense with activity for us that we didn't need to. Better to have a more detailed city to navigate than more cities. I like Mirage a whole lot more than the first game. Also, people don't like the lack of cities in the more recent games. A lot of people like the Desmond games because they were so much more focused. Focusing on Rome is among Brotherhood's primary strength. Though we watch Ezio age, we are glad to accompany him through life as he journeys from more of an apprentice role to one of leadership. Brotherhood's quality of life is also good enough to stand the test of time. You could play it and everything that comes after it today, and it would largely still hold up. We don't see another substantial leap in quality until Unity comes out, basically. Or maybe not a leap in quality, but something very different. Brotherhood gets yet another B, but we're actually done with those, so the rest will be meaningfully different. 10. Origins. Shockingly large in comparison to Syndicate, the hype for Origins fueling our community was real. I wasn't super excited about the setting, but I understood why the development team chose it as I played the game. I think the whole Z-targeting thing was definitely a step in the right direction after how superficial combat had been throughout the franchise. Z-targeting seemed to present a real opportunity to engage in challenging, fun combat. I did enjoy the combat much more than in predecessors. I favored stealth, of course, but I liked how, because Bayek was such a good archer, you could depend on archery a lot, like more than in any other game, and that made Origins different in a good way. If you can assassinate someone with a hidden blade, why not assassinate someone with a bow and arrow? It's more or less a phantom blade. The Hippodrome was insufferable, but everything else was very sufferable. Solid side quests, plenty stuff to do, a little soulless, sure. Bayek's basically a normal guy who wants to do good in the world. This makes him, I just botched my notes here. This makes him fun to play as, because it makes him easy to identify with, but it doesn't make for a thrilling narrative full of conflict and betrayal. You'd grab a beer with him, as there was plenty of it in ancient Egypt, but you wouldn't expect him to get into a lot of conflicts. There was the bit with him stabbing his own child that was sad, having to leave Aya was vaguely, or part ways with Aya was vaguely sad, but that's just it, vaguely. The narrative didn't do it for me, but still, huge leap in quality if we're talking about gameplay, and overall very fun, even when you had to fight elephants. A tier. Really can't complain. 7. Rogue. When Rogue came out, I had exactly zero interest in picking it up because it was little beyond Assassin's Creed 4. I rode the Unity train to Kingdom Come and back, but a few months ago, when I picked up this Black Flag clone, I realized one of the best things about it is that it's just like Assassin's Creed 4. It's a little more polished, there's a little more stuff to do, full synchronization objectives make for a challenging experience, and you can hunt narwhals, which is a noticeable improvement in comparison to AC4. The only glaring problem with Rogue is that it just has everything in it. Like, the development team didn't know what would work, so they just threw everything in there and tried to see what would stick. So you had the open Nova Scotia area, which was sort of like the open ocean. You had the river valley in the northeast, which was like half water, half land. And then you had the city of New York that was no water and all land, all over the place. But each location had either things that worked in Assassin's Creed 4 or new things to illustrate the Templar experience. In particular, it was like Assassin's Creed 4, but there was a little more stuff to do on the ground. Yes, there's clearing bases, but there's also those missions where you have to kill all the assassins before they reach the Templar, so that's creative. The other problem more casual gamers might have is that the main campaign is super short. The game is long. Upgrading the Morrigan takes forever, and there's plenty of stuff to do. Probably more distinct activities than any other game in the franchise, whether that's good or bad, but the main campaign, something to tide you over until Unity comes out. How's that? Long story short, Rogue is just a more polished version of Black Flag with more stuff to do. If you juxtapose 3, 4, and Rogue, as these three are pretty similar, I'd say Rogue is better than all of them. None of them are my favorite, but I really underestimated Rogue. If nothing else, my placement of it in the A tier is an apology. Rogue, you are a good AC title. I'm sorry I doubted you. Number 4, Assassin's Creed Revelations. After playing all 3 Ezio games back to back, I can say that Revelations is my personal favorite of the Ezio trilogy. Functionally, it's very similar to Brotherhood in terms of activities and progression, but the new setting is a lot of fun, not to mention unexpected at the time. The bomb mechanics set it apart a little bit, but the bombs weren't as big a deal as the hooked blade, which hasn't reappeared since. As with Brotherhood, Constantinople is a bustling city full of different peoples, majestic architecture, and mysterious catacombs. This city was alive with historical figures and landmarks. At Ezio's age, it was exactly where he belonged. He had picked the perfect place to embark on his last adventure. Equal parts intrigue and dedication. The tower defense could be circumvented entirely. You only had to do it once, in spite of how bad it was. Clearing bases was a lot more challenging than in Brotherhood and 2. Also, the Desmond block levels were only like 5 minutes long, and there were 5 of them, so 25 minutes of doing something vaguely irrelevant. I like Revelations. As my favorite Ezio game, it certainly belongs in the A tier. That leaves us with Assassin's Creed 2. When Assassin's Creed 2 came out, I was just as infinitely ecstatic and excited as when it was announced. A new Assassin's Creed game in Renaissance Italy? What's his name? Ezio? I was just beside myself as a 14-year-old who just read Romeo and Juliet for the first time and had seen the Baz Luhrmann movie. I was so excited to see this super cool Assassin's Creed game in Italy. Now that the one in Japan is here, of course, and no one bats an eye, everyone's like, well, whatever, of course it is, etc. The combat's alright, definitely better than the first one because you had access to more weapons, and you could actually customize what Ezio was wearing or wielding. More progression meant more immersion, and Ezio is among the most captivating protagonists. Certainly he got to have 3 games, no one else had that, but the second game could have stood on its own without the 2 next ones. Different from Altair, Ezio revealed more of his inner self to us. His avuncular personality and the fact that women were all over him, it made him a role model to a lot of the men who were, or boys rather, who were playing as him. I was 15 when I played as him, and a lot of men in their early 30s love Assassin's Creed 2 because he was such a role model. He taught us how to respect our families, treat women, and just be the best versions of ourselves. The heroic story of this patron saint of masculinity had as much to do with us as it had to do with Assassin's Creed 2. And this is why, as unfair as it is to those that come after, I must concede that Assassin's Creed 2 is the greatest of all time.
Your time is up, my time is now. You can't see me, my time is now. It's the franchise where I'm shining now. You can't see me, my time is now. In case you forgot or fell off, I'm still hot, knock your shell off. My money stacked fat, plus I